All right, y'all. Listen, so check this out. We finna be doing Lilith in the actual first house, right? So now we finna be talking about because y'all, if you know astrology, you should understand that the first house, one of its meanings, right? Now remember, I do Vedic astrology, so the first house got multiple meanings, right? But in Vedic astrology, which I gotta understand is this, and even in tropical astrology, it does mean it's one thing. Excuse me, oof, identity. That is what the first house is really all about, right? How you are, you know what I'm saying, individualized, right? That's why it's number one, the first house is uno, you, right? So the first house is like, you know what I'm talking about, your overall personality, right? Overall life circumstances, right? Overall life path, you know what I'm talking about. But right here, we finna be talking about just the identity. And I will make other videos around overall life path and all the other shit, right? But today, let's go ahead and dive right into it. Now, so when Lilith is in the first house, so listen, in all my videos, it's gonna be like this because I really like more of an analytical understanding about shit. Y'all. I want everybody to get it straight to the point, right? Ain't no, oh, well, I just 100% feel. No, I'm using logical shit. Yeah, I'm gonna look at my other videos. I'm a very practical, logical person. Even with spirituality, right? Because I understand spirit people can really just say shit and just make a lot of shit up. I really ain't for all that shit, right? But so now let's go and talk about Lilith in the first house. So now listen, so Lilith in the first house, right? A dark and raw expression of self identity, right? Because if you watch my previous videos, right, Lilith is what? That's the rebellious energy, right? It's that, you know what I'm talking about, betrayal energy as well, right? You know what I'm talking about? And it's that kind of like anger or hatred type of energy. You know what I'm saying? In and of itself, right? Although you can use that shit to manifest in good ways, more often than not, it normally ain't manifested in good ways, but you can make it. So now, let's look what I typed up now. Lilith, often called the Black Moon, Lilith is a point in your astrology chart that represents your raw, unfiltered essence, untamed, rebellious. Untamed, rebellious, and sometimes taboo aspects of the psyche. Right, come through Lilith's energy. Right, so now she is the primal force, untouched by society's rule and judgment. Right, remember she was outcast, and after she got outcast, so called, she just started doing whatever the hell she want. Right, if y'all not gonna accept me, then I'm just gonna go over here and still continue to be who the hell I am, right? That's kind of that Lilith energy, right? But now, so when Lilith is in the actual first house of identity, y'all, now remember this is raw, rebellious energy, right? But it's integrated deeply into the way a person express themselves, right? Like you can see it on them, right? You can see that dark feminine essence that's on the person, whether they a man or a woman, right? So now you got to understand it can be an over sexualization of these type of people too. You can see somebody who really not that attractive, but you might be sexually attractive to them. Then they might not be physically attractive, but they might be sexually attractive, right? You see what I'm saying? You might not know like why the hell you feel that way, right? Because the first house also rules what? The physical body as well, right? Real talk. But now, and so in the first house basis, it's to rule your self image. You gotta understand this, y'all. Listen, the way that you project yourself into the world, right? Like your first impression, like that impacting, you know, it's my image, right? So now with Lilith in this position, right, your identity is likely anything but conventional, right? Because remember of the rebellious nature, right? So now you gotta remember you are driven by an internal need to rebel, break free, and express yourself, your true wild nature. And this also can go for people with Lilith and Aries. I got Lilith and Aries in the fifth house, right? Because we all know the zodiac signs and the houses are two different things, but they all are similar. It's similar, but still different, right? Zodiac signs not the house, you know what I'm talking about, but that the zodiac signs still line up from an original zodiac, which will be Aries, right, as the first house, going all the way to Pisces 12th house. Now, let's look at the positive manifestation, right? So now, unapologetic authenticity, right? And we all know that Lilith, that's some Lilith shit, right? So now, with the Lilith in the first house, right, this space gonna really give your ass like the power to express yourself without hesitation or fear or judgment at all. And that shit could be good and it can be dangerous. Like I said, you know what I'm talking about. But I do feel it, right. Nobody want to feel like they in chains and shackled by other people's opinions about certain shit. However, depending on what the nature of what you're trying to do and express, now that's a whole different ball game. Because you got some people out here that want to express themselves and be pedophiles, right? They feel like that is natural. We're humans. You see how we can't let every single thing fly? So we have to have rules and shit, right? So there is a place for Lilith, and then there is a place where her ass don't need to be around nowhere at all, right? Because it's a more of a freedom energy, right? Especially freedom when it comes to sexual liberty, right? So you got to remember, like, why you think so many? It's like we see pedophiles don't like they don't really get as much time as they should. You know what I'm talking about? Imagine we just started just accepting that shit. I'm unapologetically me. What? Man, come on. So now, but you gotta understand. So now, this authenticity is really gonna make your ass like a force of nature, right? A person who unapologetically in the world, you know what I'm talking about, define expectations and norms. So Lilith energy got a lot of Aquarius energy, right? I'm wait till I do my Lilith and Aquarius videos solo, right? So now with this manifestation, right? So you don't conform to the mold. You embrace your individuality, right? Embracing the dark and the mysterious and the unconventional sides of yourself, right? You're bold, raw, and fiercely authentic, right? So often rejecting society's rule about how people should look, act, or be. So now what you got to understand this as well, too. Lilith in the first house, especially in the woman chart, can off top automatically make her a feminist, right? Off top to make her a feminist. And it could make her a toxic feminist. I'm just keeping that shit a buck, right? Because of what the energy of Lilith represents. It's a feminine, dark, rebellious energy. Now it's going into the first house of self and identity, right? So that Lilith energy is literally merging with who they actually are. That's why I'm saying that, right? And this can manifest as the more negative, darker side, right? Like I said, you can use it as a positive, but if that shit's sitting there with Mars or being aspected by Mars, I don't know what to tell you. So now what you gotta understand. So now listen. So now listen. So example, right? You might you might proudly wear what makes you feel powerful, exotic, seductive. You know what I'm saying? Completely going against what everybody else might say about your ass. But so you really gonna feel free, kind of like in expressing your true self, right? So whether it's through your style, your opinions, or your sexuality, right? You really gonna be like a walking expression of freedom. That's kind of what it is now. So now listen. So power and rejection, right? So if you face rejection or you've been told you don't fit in at Lilith in the first house, that shit can turn that shit into a source of power, right? Because people fear what they don't understand or fear what's or don't care about what's not seen as cool. But a lot of people talk shit. Then once they see you gaining like popularity or momentum with a certain style or certain shit, now they want to join in and fit in and shit. Right. So come on now. So now you really don't crumble. You really gonna grow stronger, right? So more empowered, right? More determined to show the world that you really don't need validation. Like I said, I got Aries in the first in Aries. I feel exactly like this. Now I can't. I feel exactly like that, right? Now remember, Lilith isn't the only. Remember now, if you watch all my videos, remember, one placement don't mean that you're gonna do all this shit 100% exactly right. This is just a general overview of what singled and isolated out what this shit could do. Because you could have Moon in the seventh house aspecting this shit, Saturn aspecting it, Mars aspecting it. They can like bring it up or down, right? But it's just an overall general analysis of what that shit can actually like manifest like in your damn life, right? So now, when it comes to the manifestation, right? So you really gonna have a magnetic strength that attracts others to admire your defiance. Like people love the villain, they love the rebel, they love the person who's like, yeah, I fuck all this, I'm me. And like, that's how I kind of am, right? So now you don't need to conform or feel validated. You reject all that, you know what I'm saying, and rise above it. So example, you've likely faced being cast out or judged for not following the traditional rules, right? But rather than shrinking or retreating, you become even more unbreakable and unshakable, right? Using your individuality and your strength, the rejection becomes your fuel. And that shit can be good and it can be dangerous because you can have some people who get rejected and they feel like they need revenge now. That's kind of, I think that, I believe that's how the story of Lilith went. After she got kicked out, she became more vindictive and more vengeful. And I can understand from a logical point of view, you like, damn, I just wanted to do this one thing. Y'all both kick me out this mud. Okay, well, forget y'all. I can understand that shit completely from a humanistic, rational minded standpoint, right? You know what I'm talking about? Because we're social creatures and we based a lot of times based around group dynamics. So when you tear us apart from those group dynamics, or we don't, or we feel like the group rejects us, as an individual, that shit can turn into pain, anger, and damn near even hate and spite. So you got to remember, a lot of times that's what kind of like them school shootings be happening. Rejection. They feel like the world did this to them, and their friends and the girls and their homeboys, and now they want to just hurt everybody. You real shit. So there is good and there is very bad ways this shit can manifest, right? So now a magnetic dark present, right? So your energy gonna be magnetic, like we already previously stated. So it's gonna be something really kind of, you know what I'm talking about, darkly alluring about you, right? Something that's gonna really like be pulling people towards you. That's that Lilith energy. So this is kind of like that scorpionic magnetizing aspect, right? That kind of like pulling polarity. I think I'm saying pulling polarity, pulling gravitational. I think I'm saying that. Should correct me if I'm wrong with the comments, right? So now That's that mysterious, intense aura that y'all really can't hide the shit because remember, it's sitting on your ascendant, who you are, right? So you got to remember, and this could also give you like a curvaceous body. It can also give you some type of like, you know what I'm talking about, like sexually arousing like shapes and shit, right? You could be a person who heavy set, right? But you might have some amazing breasts. You might be a person that you know what I'm talking about, that's heavy set, but you got a nice buttocks or a nice leg. This is for women. Men, it could be something that I guess the male equivalent women, y'all can figure that shit out on y'all own, but y'all get what I'm saying. So now the manifestation. You may not be the loudest in the room, but your energy will command the attention, y'all. That shit for real, right? Because you gotta remember, people can really feel that dark sexual presence or just that dark rebellious energy just around. They can be like, okay, what the hell? So now people might describe you as intense or magnetic, you know, even if you ain't doing shit particularly like flash, even if you ain't doing it, folk be like, how they think all that about me? Because you remember you have unseen forces affecting your ascending, right? So you got to remember, we learned astrology, right? But you still have things that's influencing you that you might not be, you know what I'm talking about, like consciously aware of what's going on. Real shit, right? So you might be like, why they think that about me? Well, you have certain energies, you know what I'm talking about, affecting your physical appearance and your identity, not only to yourself, but also the outward expression to the world, right? Real talk. So now champion of freedom and rebellion, right? So you got to remember, y'all gonna feel like y'all warriors of freedom, right? Especially when that shit in the first house, right? And when it comes to personal identity, because that's where it's at, right? So you got to remember, so the liberation from restrictive norms, that's gonna be like everything to y'all. I'm not finna fit in what the hell you tell me I should be just because you said I should. Who are you? Imagine Lilith in Aquarius in the first house, aspected by Mars. Boy, ain't no way. That's some crazy shit, but I ain't gonna get that. Sounds a crazy ass combination, right? So now, liberation from restrictive norms, everything. Well, I think I said that shit. Mine all over the place, right? So the manifestation, right? So you would challenge social constructs, gender roles, traditional expectations, advocating for individual freedom. Basically, your rebellion gonna really be like a self-expression and empowerment, right? Like, yes, we defy the odds. On some Katniss Everdeen on the last Hunger Games type of shit when they finally took out the main villain and then the people who was helping her, they wanted to become the new villain damn near, and she took her ass out too. So you got to remember, so when it comes to conformity, you don't want to hear none of that shit. You want to be authentically you, right? So now you might be an advocate from breaking free of gender roles, break just really going it just really going against the grain of what's supposed to be considered as normality, real shit. But now the negative manifestation, right? So now let's go to the negative manifestation, right? So now while Lilith in the first house really give your ass like a personal power, it can also manifest as like overly aggressive, right? Overly assertive, overly defensive, right? Because you're gonna feel like any type of thing is trying to bind you down. You know what I'm talking about? It's something that you have to like, no, you have to push back intensely against. You like hell no, right? So what you got to understand. So now you got to remember. So you got to remember anything that really kind of threaten your sense of self, you know what I'm talking about, real or perceived, might be met with intense reactions, right? Especially if you feel misunderstood or rejected. That especially if you like this who I am, y'all don't accept it, big. So now you may become combative, attacking anyone who questions or challenges your self-expression. Your dark side is highly reactive, and when triggered, you can lash out fiercely to protect your sovereignty, right? You know what I'm saying, like your independence and autonomy, right? You know what I'm saying? Damn near you really your ego, honestly. And sovereign is like king and ruler, and we know the king and ruler in astrology is Leo. And what planet rule him? The sun. And that's the soul, right? I'm just saying. So now, the desire to be seen as authentic might morph into constant defiance, right? You know, it's making it hard to be a bridge or get along with other people. Example, if someone critiques your appearance or challenges your beliefs, you might explode in anger, unwilling to entertain any feedback. Your need to defend your individuality can sometimes lead you to alienate those around you, even if they do have good intentions. You don't want to hear shit that much. So number two, emotional isolation and withdrawal, right? So since that Lilith in the first house make your ass extremely independent, you got to remember you might kind of stray away unless you got certain like other watery aspects, right, to help you connect or like some certain type of lever which help you balance this shit out. It might be hard for you to emotionally connect with people, right? Because you so rebellious, you so worried about you. It's still in the first house itself. not in the seventh house of others, right? So now you can shut down, push people away when things get too intimate, too emotionally intense. You got to remember, it may be a fear of being too exposed, being judged, so your ass can go into your shell rather than really allowing your ass to be vulnerable, right? So you could probably appear unapproachable, basically projecting an image of strength and confidence while hiding your insecurities, right? That kind of soft nature. This can play off like that Cancer energy, right? Cancer is ruled by the moon, right? But you got to remember, in astrology, Lilith is called what? Black Moon Lilith. Just saying, right? So now, identity crisis, right? So now, Lilith in the first house can create confusion about your true self, right? Especially if you have faced a lot of rejection or challenges. You may experience intense identity crisis when you feel disconnected from your core essence, right? So you got to remember, the desire to break free from societal norms can lead to a disorienting conflict about who you really are. You might be feeling like this, I'm meant to do this for my people. Whole time, you might not. Whole time, you really might not, right? So now, the manifestation, right? You may oscillate between feeling too much or not enough, right? You may be trapped between what? Rebelling against society's expectations and accepting your true nature, right? So that internal, y'all see where the internal conflict could really come from. So now, for the last example, right, you might struggle with your public persona versus your inner self. Sometimes you feel like you rejected too much of who you were supposed to be and aren't sure what's left, right? So the disconnection from your true identity can have your ass feeling lost or confused. So as we can see with Lilith in his first house, this is just being tied directly into your persona off top, right? So yeah, so now listen. So now I'm gonna be making a whole series about the Lilith shit. So y'all make sure y'all stay tuned. Follow me on Facebook, Inferno Rex with two O's and two X's. Instagram rexkainn with two N's. I'm gonna leave the link in the goddamn comment description, y'all. But listen, until then, I will holler at y'all ass later, man. Peace.